All right. Like Lynn said and Matt said earlier, my name's Josh Hernandez, and I'm going to go through, and like I said, I don't know that we have an actual 2-hour session today, but we'll see. But also, as we're going throughout anything today, this is being recorded, so I will do some things very basically that may seem redundant to what you're already doing. But as I go through anything, if you've got questions that pertain to what's on the screen, or maybe something that's not even on the screen yet, feel free. You can raise your hand and let me know, or just shout, Josh, I've got a question. Because we're a small group, I want to make sure that you're getting what you need out of today's session. So feel free to ask those questions. And I've got quite a few things, quite a few topics on the screen of what we'll discuss today. Basic system navigation, if you haven't been in all that often in Flexmls, the fundamentals of quick search, looking at, reviewing, selecting, using search results. Even though the 1004 MC doesn't quite meet the market conditions requirements anymore, I'll just show you briefly how to run that. And then, like Matt mentioned, being able to export data is probably really huge now to create your own reports. So I'll show you how to do the general export, how to create your custom exports, and then probably end with some customizations and then just a reminder of some actual help resources that we have specifically for appraisers. So I'm going to go into, got this screen up just in case. Is there anybody here who is not currently using Flexmls as a front end or a secondary front end of choice? All right. So, number one, what is a front end of choice? And the way I always explain this, number one, Doorify is an amazing MLS because they give you so many options on how you're accessing data. And the front end is just what you use to search for listings. So you have three options: Flexmls, which we'll look at today; Paragon, which if you have any questions on Paragon, we've got Lynn here; and then Matrix as well. And so I've got this second point in here because I borrowed this slide from one of my other decks. Why use Flexmls as a front end? One, you've got immediate access to the listing manager from Flexmls. A lot of appraisers are not going in and editing listings or anything like that. But the reason you have access to the listing manager is because all three front ends have to have a single back end, essentially, that is the source of truth for the data. And currently, that is Flexmls, is the back end, which means this is probably the most important thing here. There's absolutely zero delay of listing updates. When somebody goes into the listing manager right now and they update a listing, price change, status change, there is a small delay before that hits Paragon. There's a slightly longer delay before that hits Matrix. There is no delay because Flexmls is both a front end and the actual back end. There's no delay. So the listing data that you see is always live, always current. There's no delay at all when you're looking at the listing data in Flexmls. Third point here, access to the app. Not really relevant. However, the app does have some very small capabilities for running stats for search results, or the mobile website does, depending on which app you're using. So app is probably not a big one, but just the fresh current listing data is probably one of the reasons you may want to consider using Flexmls as a front end. If you're not currently using Flexmls as a front end of choice, if you go to the Doorify YouTube page, they've got a really nice short video that talks about how do I select a front end, how do I select a secondary front end to try it out. But I've got the simplified steps on my screen right now by going to my.doorify.com. DoorifyMLS.com. You go to your dashboard, you click in the left corner, view your account, and that's where you have the access to your subscription. So you'll see your current front end in there. You can change front ends. I believe there's a trial, a 30-day trial that you can do for Flexmls there as well. If you're trying that out right now, I've learned earlier this week there is about a 20-minute delay. So if you're like, I want to try it and follow along right now, there is about a 20-minute delay between the time you say, yes, I'd like to use that, or use it as a test for 30 days, it'll take you about 20 minutes before you actually get access, before that account changes for you, that account access. But that's where you can go in and try that out as a front end or a secondary front end of choice or a trial front end. All right, now, with that taken care of, I'm going to begin with the very basics, just system navigation, where things are located, what things do, and then we'll get into searching after that. And I'll start kind of working my screen top down. We'll look at help options, the quick launch search bar, menu, favorite menu items that you can mark and change, and then a little bit on the dashboard customizations. We may revisit that towards the end of class, but I want to get through this so we can get to searching. So I've already logged in to Flexmls, and when you log into the system, you're going to find yourself on a dashboard. And generally speaking, I think the dashboard is set up oftentimes with agents or brokers in mind, not appraisers. So this is all customizable, and I'll kind of show you how we can change some things. But I'm going to start at the very top of the screen where I see the Doorify MLS logo, the search bar, and then some help options. I'll start with the very first one, and we'll also end with a kind of a review of this. This is guided help. And guided help is a great feature for learning how to do things in the system. I oftentimes compare this to getting into a rental car. This is like your new car. If I get in my own car and my wife has been there and she has messed up the seats and the mirrors, I know how to fix that really quickly because I know where everything is at. When I get into a rental car, I know what I want to do. I've driven a car a long time. I just don't know how to adjust that seat, that mirror, how to hook up my phone to the GPS and have it on the monitor. So the guided help is like having somebody sitting next to you saying, okay, just click on this, now click over here, now click over there. Because you know what you want to do, you just don't necessarily know how to do it in Flexmls. And the way this resource center works, you can type in what you're looking for. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom on my guided help because there is a separate section specifically for appraiser guided tours. So a lot of the things that we look at today do have corresponding guided tours. For example, if I just want to say I want to do a radius search from an address, I can't remember, Josh showed me that. Click here, create radius search. And it's actually on-screen help. It's not going to be a video that you watch. This tells you what we're about to do, and I follow the on-screen prompts. I'll click next, and it tells me to do a radius search. First, just click on quick search. And then when I get to this page, it's going to say, do you want to select a point on a map or use an address to build your radius? So I can say, let's use an address. From here, it's going to say, click on this little red push pin right over on my map tools. So I click on that push pin, I get this locate address, and it just takes me through everything step by step as I'm using it. Because like I said, you know what you want to do. This is just a different interface than Paragon or Matrix. So it shows you step by step, click on this, click on this, click on that. So really good resource for that guided help for learning features, reviewing features, just walks you through things. You'll notice I just clicked on my logo in the upper left corner as well, and that will always take me back to my dashboard. So that's sort of a shortcut when you click on the Doorify MLS logo. One thing as you get in and start using Flexmls, maybe you're trying it out, and you look at your screen and say you just demonstrated guided help and I don't see guided help. There are some browsers. Safari is one that has really tight security protocols. I think the newer updates of Google Chrome often do as well. And their browser security will often block the guided help from appearing. So if you do not see guided help available, you can click on help over in the upper right corner of the page. There are a ton of help options available. Help with this page brings up help for whatever page I'm on. Flexmls help, that's where the user manuals are essentially. Flexmls Academy combines all those things together. Video training, and then of course contacting MLS support or contacting the MLS. But if I just click on Flexmls help, if you, like I said, want to know where the user manuals are, I like to learn by reading, the Flexmls help pages are here. They've got tons of kind of pre-made common search topics, but I can type in what I'm looking for. And in this case, since I didn't see maybe the guided help in the center of my screen, I'm just going to type in the word guided help. And about the third or fourth option down, it tells me, why can't I see guided help? And it will just say, if you're using this browser, Safari, for example, go in to the privacy button, select or deselect prevent cross-site tracking. And so shows you what settings need to change. There is absolutely no harm that is possible from allowing guided help to access it. It's not like a pop-up where it's collecting data information or selling anything. It's not, so there's no reason not to have guided help available. You just need to make sure your browser settings are set so it is available. And again, like I said, you can get there under Flexmls help. And the last thing I'll talk about just in this very top row is going to be this search bar. And the search bar says enter an address, city, zip code. So I could type in a specific address for a previous listing or a current listing. I'm going to do 198 Blair Grove Court. So as I start typing that in, it's saying, oh, are you looking for this listing? It's also saying, did you want to start a new search in the city of Grover? Because it's seen that I typed in Grove. So it looks through all kinds of things. I can look up specific listings by address or MLS number. I can start new searches from here. There's a comparable search feature. We'll probably talk about that here as well. But this search bar does a couple of really important things. Number one, if you like to multitask, and I don't know anybody in the real estate industry who is only doing one thing at one time ever. So to multitask, if I type something into that quick launch bar, I hover over it, I can open that in a new tab, but that new tab is a different instance of Flexmls. So I could have one search going over in this one. I could start a different search here. I can open up as many tabs as my computer is going to allow me memory-wise. I generally have about 40 tabs open between all of my browsers at any given time. So to multitask, just use that quick launch bar. You will not find under your menu underneath here, there's no open up a new window option. So to actually open up a new window where you can do anything you want in here independent of the other tabs, just use that quick launch bar. The other thing that this quick launch bar does, if I click in it and don't type anything, it gives me my past 5 saved searches, a search that I ran and saved. When you're learning the system, oftentimes you have that muscle memory. I'm starting a search, I did something and then I wanted to go back and I clicked the back arrow and now I just lost my entire search. So in Flexmls, when we go and look at the search, I'll talk about not using your back arrow, how to get back to previous pages. But if you accidentally leave a search that you've started on and you don't want to have to go back in and start building it from scratch because you left that page, in the quick launch bar, if you just type in the word draft, it is going to, 1, suggest listings on Draft and Drive, but 2, you'll see draft searches. These are the past 5 searches that I've run, but not saved. So you'll see last night I was doing some searches 11 hours ago. I can click, open that up in a new tab, and I can start where I left off. So if you accidentally leave any search screen and want to get back, just type in the word draft into that quick launch bar. That's the fast way to do it. And here, wonder what search I was doing. Oh, it looks like I was doing a radius search. Makes sense since I was prepping for this class. So I'm going to come back down here. One other way to get back and use draft searches, when I go to my menu, under search, the search column, towards the bottom it says saved searches. If I click on that, it has searches that I've actually saved, but it also has my favorites, any search that I've marked as a favorite that I use frequently. But it also has access to the draft searches, searches that were run but not saved. This only shows the past 3 draft searches. That's one of the reasons I like to go up to the top. It shows the past 5. I don't know why they're different, but I can just tell you this saved searches, going to the draft searches only shows the past 3 searches. Now from here, you saw me already, just come down to this second row that is always available, and that's my menu and my menu items. And so you'll notice when I open my menu, some of these menu items have a star next to them, and those are the ones that are pinned out on my favorites. So the first time you log into Flexmls, you'll probably get a pop-up that says, are you an agent? Are you a broker? Are you an appraiser? And sometimes people agonize over that little question. All that does is set a few default favorites for you. So if you say I'm an appraiser, but I also do X, Y, and Z, all it does is set some of these favorites. So when you answer that question, don't sweat it. If you have multiple hats that you wear, it is really easy to go in and customize your favorites. For example, contact management. Maybe I never work with contacts individually. It's not something I go to. I can just hover over that in my menu, click the star that's currently next to it, and now it's not starred. Now it's no longer on my favorites. Or maybe I don't need to get in and see my production. But maybe there are things in here that I like to have access to. Maybe I've got a few saved searches that I like. Or you'll notice as I scroll down this screen, if you're often going out to other platforms for tax information or analytics like Domus Analytics or CRS, those third-party integrations are also available here. So you can just come in and add those to your favorites bar here as well. So I'll come out. It's going to say Rental Beast search, anything for that. So you have a lot of access out here, putting on whatever you like. And then also, if you're like me and you're always like, that's pretty good, but I need to change the order because it really bothers me. I like to put this one first, that one last, because that's the order I use. If you want to get that granular, if you see my mouse travel all the way over to the right-hand side, it says reorder. It just shows me all of my current favorites, and I can always drag and drop to rearrange the order that I have for those. So that's very easily customizable. If there's something there that you don't use, take it off. If there's something that you want there, just open your menu, hover over it, and then put that on right here. Lastly, underneath those top 2 rows, we do have the actual dashboard. And the dashboard has all of these little squares, gadgets. Each of the gadgets is set. They all have a settings. If there's a gadget, like my listings here, you'll see I can drag and drop to rearrange the gadgets. I don't currently have any listings. I don't need this gadget. It's taking up space. Those 3 dots on any of the gadgets, you can click on settings to change them, but I can also just click remove. So I can take that gadget off of my dashboard and make the dashboard more appropriate for the things that I want to see right here. So I'm just going to take maybe my hot sheet and put that up right at the top here. I think I've got a few more gadgets. Contacts, we don't need that. Saved searches, maybe I'll bring that up. There we go. So you can customize that. You can play around. You'll see there is an inventory gadget that is on the dashboard. This is looking over the entire MLS. You can, of course, click those 3 dots. Any of those gadgets have the settings option. And here I can say, what am I currently looking at? Commercial lease? No, I don't want that. I'm going to do residential. What do I want to see? Active, new, pended. And this is looking in the entire MLS, so I could just select specific cities, or I think we should be able to search counties here. There we go. So I could just set that gadget to show specific counties, specific property types, and click on save. So you can look. Like I said, I think there's one stat gadget, the inventory gadget, that's here by default. You can play around with this if we have time at the end, we probably will. You can go to customize, you can add gadgets. There's all kinds of gadgets that you can play around with here. I could have multiple inventory gadgets. Here's a statistics section. All of my gadget categories are along the left. Here's absorption rate, inventory, sale to list price ratio. So I can get those gadgets just so when I log in, I've got a quick summary of statistical information that I can come in and set that I want to see. Now, I'm just going to go back to my dashboard. We may come back to that later. But what I really want to get to right now is actually searching in Flexmls. And when I open my menu, you'll see under the search part of the menu, there are a ton of searches available. I'm going to focus almost exclusively on quick search today. And that is because with the quick search, don't let the name fool you. People see the word quick and are like, no, I want the real search. Quick search is the most powerful, the most robust search tool in the system. So that's why, excuse me, I'm spending my time. That's what we'll talk about today. There's nothing I can do or I can't do from any of these other searches that I could not do here in the quick search. So I'm going to click on my quick search screen. When you land on this screen, there's a lot going on. It looks very different than some of the other search interfaces for like Paragon or Matrix. And I like to just break the screen down into 3 parts. Search, find, act. Search, what am I looking for? Over on the left side, I select the property type that I want to use. That loads the template. I put in my search criteria. You can turn any search into a map search or you can ignore the map. And then I want to look at my search results, find the results I want to work with. That's going to be this row right here. Right above my map, you'll see edit search is currently underlined or highlighted in blue. If I want to start looking at results in the list, detail, photos, map, I have those options here. And then when I decide what am I doing with those listings that I'm looking at or selected listings, I can always select listings here. My actions are always at that top right of the search page. So sharing listings, email, print. We'll look at CMA, report violation. If you see something incorrect, you can always report that. And then we'll also talk about just exporting listings here today as well. So my actions are at the top of the screen. So whenever I begin a search, find, act, search, we enter in our search criteria, find, we view the results. Right along that row, we select what we're working with, and then my actions, whatever I'm doing with that, are going to be at the very top of the screen. So with that, I'm going to come in and do a few types of search here. So one, we'll create a specific search. And in this one, I'll use the map. I'll show you how to use the map. But we'll begin, select a template, select the statuses, date ranges if you're looking at those off-market listings, enter in additional search criteria, and then I'll also use the map. So in our very first search, when we're searching, at any point in time, I can use the map or I can never use the map. It's totally fine either way, but any search can become a map search by just clicking in the map to the right. We already saw when I begin the search, select the property type that you want to work with, and that loads the search template beneath that. When I'm looking at this, you'll notice when you start a search, the statuses selected by default are active, coming soon, active, under contract. There's no way to change that default. So I can't say I always want active, pending, and closed showing. This is kind of controlled at the MLS level, but if I want to come in and say, no, in this search, I'm looking exclusively at sold listings, so I'll click on closed. And that gives me my close dates right underneath that. Let me zoom in on my screen, make that easier for you to see. So when I selected closed, I have my close dates pop up, so I can select the specific dates I want to go back to. There is also this forward-backward arrow. When I click on that, it's just relative days back. So if I'm planning to save this search and I'm running it on the first of the month and I always want to go back exactly 30 days or 90 days or whatever it is, I can just say, let's set that at 90 days back. Whenever I run this search after I save it, it'll go 90 days back from whatever day I'm currently running that. So if you don't want to use specific dates in that particular search, you can just toggle back and forth right here. In order to select multiple statuses, you'll notice I clicked on closed and those other statuses just disappeared. And if I click on active, now closed is no longer selected. To select multiple, hold your control key, command key if you're a Mac user, and while you're holding that, just select the statuses that you want to include. And then you'll notice, again, if I choose a status that's an off-market status like pending, then it gives me my off-market date, purchase contract date for pending listings is also included right here as well. So I'll just keep that active, pending, and closed. I can set my price ranges, property subtypes to make sure that I'm looking and pulling in what I want. If you want to search by specific subdivisions or neighborhood, I think I heard mentioned yesterday that currently Paragon is working on having sort of the pick list for subdivisions. Is that correct? But it's not there yet?
Not there yet.
But it is coming. But until that time, if you are searching on subdivision or like, wouldn't it be nice if there was a pick list where I could just come in and I'll just say, here's Governor's Club right here. So you can come in. It's coming back. It's coming back to Paragon. I just heard yesterday people mention that that was not. Are you good? Okay. So subdivisions are searchable here. You'll see my map. Subdivision is not one that will zoom in, but now there's all the listings, active, pending, closed, that are in that subdivision that I just used. You can use multiple subdivisions or cities or whatever it is in that search box. And Governor's Forest, see if anything else comes in here. There we go, a couple more. So you just keep typing in. You can use that anytime you see those search boxes here on subdivisions, cities, neighborhoods. They all function the same way. You've got a search box here and you can just start typing in and add as many as you would like. I took that off for right now because we're going to use the map in a moment. I can come down, select whatever I want to get for as I'm looking at listings here. Before I do that, what I'm going to do is also mention if there's something that you're searching for and it is not on the search template, you can always add a field on the fly. So maybe I'm looking for like lot size acres or something like that, and I don't see it on my template, but I really want that for this particular search. I can click add a field. I get a pop-up over on the right, kind of replaces the map. It has a search bar because underneath that are all the searchable fields. So I type in the search bar, maybe I'm looking for that lot size information, and if I click on any of those options from that pop-up, you'll see they just get added to my template here over on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, number one question that usually comes up here is, can I have those permanently added because I do that? I'm going to come back to that question, but I will cover that, how we can create a custom search template and customize that as well. For right now, before I do that, I'm just going to jump into the map itself and just show some of the map tools that are available. So on the map, you'll notice I had a pop-up on the map. Anytime there are more than 1,000 listings, they're not mapping by default, just to make sure there's no lag and load time when you're creating these searches. When I get fewer than 1,000 listings, then you'll start seeing them plot on the map, like when I looked at Governor's Village here, or Governor's Club. And when I want to look at the map and say, I just want to find an address, not necessarily something, a property, it may have been on the MLS previously, it may not have. If I'm just searching by address, my map tools are over along the right side of my screen. So that right column on the far right of the map. Locate address is this red push pin right second from the bottom on that tool column for the map. And this just allows me, I'm going to click off that guided help right now. This just allows me to type in any address. It's looking at US postal address information and Google Maps trying to find an address. It's not looking for a listing. It's literally just looking for the address location. So when I type that in, we'll do 198 Blair Grove Court. And city, state, zip. Hopefully I wrote down my zip code correctly, 27215. And when I click on locate, it goes out. It looks for that. When I'm viewing the map here, I'm zoomed in on my map pretty far. I'm going to, there we go. Spread that out a little bit. You can always come here, change from my regular map view, satellite view. So as I'm looking, maybe that was, whoops, come back out. Maybe that was an area kind of new construction, and so it didn't know exactly where to place that. It kind of placed that in the center of the court here. I can come in and I can drag and drop that push pin around if it didn't map correctly. So I can set that exactly where I want it to be. Generally, Google Maps in the past, well, 5+ years has gotten very good. It used to always just put everything right in the middle of the road and you're like, but where's the listing? It's gotten much better at placing that with the US postal address information now. But occasionally it still pops in the middle of the road, or it's an area of new construction, or really a really rural area. So you may have to, when you locate the address, drag and drop that. The tip of the push pin is where it's going to locate the property. Once you have it where you want it, if it didn't map correctly and you moved it, just click use this location. Once I click use that location, now wherever I go, that pin is pinned on my map. So from here, I'm just going to draw a radius around it. We'll come back and look at drawing custom shapes as well. But from here, if I just want to draw a radius from that push pin, sorry, forgot to put my do not disturb on. And I'll come in here for that push pin. That pop-up from the push pin, the very first option just says do a radius search from here. And it defaults at 1 mile. You can change that as needed. So if you want to change that to 20 miles or 1.25 miles or 0.3 miles, you can change that, but the default is 1. Click create radius. And now it's looking at whatever I enter in my search criteria just within that radius that I've drawn around that push pin. I'm not sure. There we go. Yeah. So got fewer than 1,000 listings. 89 listings there are populated. They are color-coded by status by default. So if you're looking and you're like, what's the blue listing? What's the orange? What's the green? The map tools over on the right, the very last one, are color legend. Tells us that right now it's sorted by status, active. Let me zoom in on my screen a little bit so we can see that. Active are green, pending are orange, closed are in blue. You can also change this if I don't want to see that by status. Maybe I'm just looking at sold listings and I want to see them sorted kind of by price or price per square foot. I can get that on the map here as well. I'll go back to the status, but just nice for being able to see things visually on the map as far as price ranges go. And that is creating that radius here on the map. When I'm looking at those search results, I've got 89 results. And if I just want quick stats, say, okay, how many of those listings are sold? What's the average list price? What's the average sold price? I can always grab quick statistics for any search results by clicking from Edit Search over to my Stats tab. So list, detail, photos, we'll come and look at all of those, but I'm going to jump directly to Stats. And when that Stats page loads, I think this is a my Wi-Fi issue. Yeah, looks like it should be good. When that loads, I'm going to see all of my search results along the left-hand side of my screen. So right now I've got 89, but if I had 5,000, this is sort of an infinite scroll over here on the left side of my screen. And then over on the right, on my stats tab, I'm going to see that quick stat breakdown for this set of search results. So this tells me with my current search, 10 active, 11 pending, 68 closed, total of 89. I've got my average, median, low, and high statistics right underneath that. So bedrooms, bath, original list price, sold price, sale to list price ratio, have all of that information. It also lets me know how many listings were used in that particular calculation, since we've got 88 listings, but only a certain number of those are sold listings. So I can see sold price. It's only using 68 listings when running those calculations. And then I get days on market information here as well. 0 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90. So again, it's looking at the sold listings and just seeing how many of those sold during that time frame. Also, the sale to list price ratio and sale to original list price ratio is here as well. Yes?
Are days on market for new construction populated in Flex?
I'm going to have to defer to the experts.
That's actually a known issue with Flex that we have turned in.
Okay.
Days on market for new construction are not supposed to count, and they do. And they're 0 in the other platforms, and they are counting in Flex. So that's every time that happens and we detect it in a listing, an alarm goes off. So we just silenced it because it's been going off for a year.
But we can see days on market?
Yeah, in Flex for new construction.
Amazing.
It's a violation of the rules. It's not supposed to be cleared in a deal we made with the builders a long time ago to get them to put these listings in.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing for us because we have to put them in our reports.
Sure. So I guess the right answer for you guys is we're about to redo how we do new construction in the first place.
Okay.
We're adding proposed construction, some other ways to encourage the builders to tell us the actual status of the construction.
Okay.
So you don't drive out to an unfinished house or just a contract sale.
Yeah.
That will help.
Mm-hmm.
But right now there is a known variance between the days on market shown for new construction and Matrix, Flex, and Paragon.
Okay. It has to be in our report. So for Paragon, I'm in there like 31 days, 30 days.
Yeah, days on market is this is a discussion that we had a breakout discussion about DOM and CDOM at the Real Estate Standards Organization meeting a few months ago. This is geeky as it sounds like. And days on what market?
Right.
And what does marketing mean?
Yeah.
And we're wondering where that really belongs. Most sites, as you just heard, calculate their own. So it's not a number that we distribute as gospel. It's whatever they have. Days on Zillow, for example. They don't have DOM, they have DOZ. So we can maybe do days on Doorify and be certain that number is accurate. But days on market on Doorify as an office exclusive, as a limited service.
Right.
Like, what does that mean exactly? And you're just trying to figure out what the extent of the market exposure was.
Right. Yeah.
And as a recovering appraiser, I want to figure out a way to build that into the system and not violate the rules. But your question about DOM is, you can see it in Flex today, and I don't think that's changing immediately because I don't have a way to fix that. But it may be different when we release the new construction rules later this fall.
All right.
Sorry, that was a long answer.
No, that's good.
Can I ask you a question related to the days on market?
Sure.
Is there any way in not just Flex, but Paragon and Matrix and everything else, to do a report that's just specific to days on market by category?
I think so.
I mean, as a routine, click on, you've done a search, so now you've got.
I think there's a report that shows days on market by category. There is in Domus.
I don't know any off the top of my head. We can look in the stat reports here. There may be one that already shows.
I think you can pick category and then look at DOM.
Yeah, oh yeah, we can definitely do that. And we could even just set up a list. We'll look at custom views on the list too, so we can set that up so any search results, we can break it down by that and sort by category and then sort by days on, should be able to sort by days on market on there as well. So just wanted to show you the stats. One thing to note with the stats, anytime I'm looking at search results and I select, I'm going to click in the upper left corner on a couple of these listings. It tells me how many results I have and how many are selected. I can always just view the selected listings. And you'll notice as I do that, then the stats tab is only going to reflect for those selected listings that I have currently selected. If I jump back to all search results, even though I have 2 selected, it's showing me all search results. So toggling back and forth between just selected listings and all search results, this will persist whether I'm on my stats tab, whether I'm on my map tab. Here, 89 listings, two results. And I can, of course, say where are those 2 at on the map. You highlight or hover over and click to highlight it. They're both next to each other, essentially. That little map star changes here as well. I'm going to deselect those, just go back to our search results. A few other things when you're looking at listings, you want to get in, you want to see all the media on the listings, photos, videos. Going to be just moving from my map to the left. I've got my photos tab. This is really more of a media tab than just photos. You'll definitely see the photos here, so I see all of the listing photos. I'm also going to see videos, virtual tours. If somebody adds a floor plan and they add it in the floor plan section on the listing maintenance section, I'm going to see the floor plans broken out here as well. So more than just photos, I've got all the videos, virtual tours here as well. My detail page, again, I've got my infinite scroll of search results over on the left-hand side, and whichever one I click on is going to be the one that displays on the detail page. A few other things on this detail page. If I'm looking at this listing report and I say, are there other ways to view that? This is like something I would print. There are other reports. Maybe I want the report that displays all photos. So here, it's a lot of photos. I wouldn't print this report. I don't have that much color ink at my house. IDX flyers, generally probably looking at not the one-line report. The detail report allows me to get all of that listing information. Some other things on the detail tab. So on the row right underneath my search results where detail is highlighted, that top row allows me to see listing history. So I can drill down, has this been on the market previously? When was it listed? What did it close for? Right now, what was the most recent version of that listing? Again, who changed it, what changed, and when, all available. So that history is always available here on the detail tab. You will see the days on market listed on the reports. You'll also see that in the history here as well. Mortgage calculator. There is a search comparables button. When I click on search comparables, that just jumps out to a new tab. So we have our original search over here, opens up a new tab. The default for the search comparable feature in Flexmls is drawing a 1/4 mile radius, and it's looking for the exact same number of total bedrooms and total baths. And it's looking, I believe the defaults are active, pending, and sold listings. So it's including all of those. We can change those defaults. I'll do that in a moment. Because you might say, well, I want my default to be 1 mile. I want it to include X, Y, or Z statuses. So we can look at the search comparable features. There are also, you've got access to CRS, CMA reports, demographic reports. There's a more here, property report, DOMIS analytics, RPR. All of those tools are going to be available, those third-party links available under that detail tab. So if you wanted to pull this up in CRS and get to that tax information, you don't have to leave the system. You just go there from here, go to that CMA or demographics report. I'm not sure if CRS will allow me in. No, it won't, because I don't have single sign-on. I'm in a training account. So I don't get all of your cool membership benefits, but you have them.
Yeah, mine lets me right in.
Yeah, it should let you in with 0 problems. I'm just not an actual member of Doorify, so I don't get all the bells and whistles. And then I get sad. I demonstrate it. I never get to the fun parts. I'm going to move one more to the left from my detail tab, and that is going to be the list. And what's called the normal view in the list has the preview photo, that primary photo for the listing. If I want to see this in more of a spreadsheet view, on my list tab, there is the one-line view. So here, it's got status, address, price, property type, close date, above grade finished. The columns of information are what's known as the view. So when I start a residential search using the residential search template, it defaults me to using the default residential view. We can customize that, and as a matter of fact, when I get into after this in just one moment, we'll get into some customization. So I can create my own views. So I get the columns of information with the order I want, sorted the way I want. We'll go in and we'll look at how to do that as well. A couple things before we do that. One, if I'm looking at search results and I just say, well, I want to sort these listings by above grade finished square footage, I can click on any column header, click ascending, descending order, and sort on the fly that way. We'll look at creating our custom sorts, so the kind of default sorts as well. But just to show you kind of how that works. A few other things right here. We already saw toggling between the normal view and that one-line view. If you can't read this because you're like me and I need reading glasses but refuse to take them anywhere with me, you can make this a lot easier to read by clicking that little plus sign. And it's not changing the font everywhere in the system, it's just making that list easier for me to view. And I'm going to shrink that back down. One word of warning, if you're like, oh, I would like to print this list, you can go to the print function. You can select, I want to print that list page. If I had changed my font size here to size 20 to make it readable for me, that's the default when I go to print it now. So you would want to change that before you actually click on the print button. Otherwise, it may run off the page quite a bit. So that is the list. And again, we'll talk about creating our custom views here. One other thing that I'll do though before we move on to our customizations. From the stats tab, I showed you quick statistical breakdown of our current search set. There is also, I'm just going to go back to my detail, there's a one-line CMA that's defaulted here. So if I click on the CMA options at the very top of the screen, and this actually, the pop-up has two halves, a top half for running like a full CMA from Flexmls, and the bottom half, the one-line CMA, or downloading the one line as a PDF or PDF in landscape form. So I click on one-line CMA, and all that does is take my current search results, that set of search results, tells me at the top what I've searched on, and then it breaks everything down by status. I'll zoom in on my screen a little bit. But you can see by the layout why if you print this or save it as a PDF, you might want that in landscape orientation. But this just gives me a breakdown of all of my actives, pendings, year built, beds, baths, living area, list price, sold price, list price per square foot, that sort of thing, sale to list price, ratio, days on market information here as well. And then underneath each type here for our statuses breakdown, I have my average, minimum, max on those numeric fields, and then a breakdown of the entire search set here at the bottom. So that one-line CMA is, zoom out on my screen there, available again on any search page. It doesn't matter if I'm on the list, the details, the photos, my actions are always at the top, CMA, and then the one line is the second half of that pop-up here right at the bottom. A couple of quick notes on both my stats tab and the one-line CMA. Stats tab, people often look at this and say, you know, that's pretty good, but I would really like a few additional fields here. These fields on my stats tab are hard-coded into the system. They are not customizable. So I am not able to customize what I'm going to see here. Additionally, for that one-line CMA, the columns of information that appear, that is also hard-coded into the system. If there's something that you know everybody needs to see, you can always reach out to Doorify. It's very easy for them to add it or have us help them add it, but there's no individual customization for the columns that appear in the one-line CMA. But there is individual customization. We'll come back to this in a moment for what we see on the list and creating those lists. I'm going to come from here. Let's just look. Search results, statistical CMA, one-line CMA. All right, let's run. I know that the 1004 MC, again, that older version of the market conditions report, no longer meets the standards because I went through with several meetings with appraisers back in January. And people will still use that report. I'll show you how to use it if you want to use it, but we'll also create our own custom exports that we can use outside of the system that I think are probably more beneficial for many appraisers now. But if you are wondering, how do I do like to use the 1004 MC. I like to include that. You can build it from any search, just like we did here where I did a radius search on address. I select whatever I'm looking for, single family. Maybe I want to make sure all of these listings have between X number of bedrooms. I'm actually just going to come in, not going to put in any additional selections here other than single family for my subtype. But whenever I'm running the stat reports directly from this search screen, or I'm saving a search and I know I'm going to use it in a stat report, I will uncheck status. Because when I'm using something like the 1004, it's going to say I need to know the number of actives in that range. It's not looking if it's currently active or currently closed. It's looking like historically for those ranges that it's searching in. So I've deselected status. I'm going to get a ton of search results. And I know my internet connection is not the speediest, so this might take just a second for it to load. I'm waiting for this little spinning to stop at the top of my screen because I'm going to have a lot of listings. Maybe I'll do this. I'll draw a smaller radius. I'll get rid of my big one. I'm going to use, I showed you that quick comparable search that draws a 0.25 mile radius. I'm going to run a quick comparable search. I'm going to type in just the address that I want to use. I'm going to use that 198 Blair Grove Court. There is a comparable search option right here. We'll let that load. It should be that 0.25 mile radius. And I'm going to deselect status. So we go from 17 results to probably a few hundred. Is it my face? It's really, really trying.
There is a solar storm. We can blame that.
We can blame the solar storm right now. I'm going to go back. I'm going to look at, I'm not sure what's going on here now. There we go, back to our 17. All right, I'm going to do exactly what I'm telling you not to do. I'm going to keep status selected here. Generally, if I'm sending something to the statistical CMA, which has the 1004 MC option, I am not going to have status selected. So ignore that, pretend this is currently unchecked, and well, now I've gone up to 75 there. Very peculiar. All right, back to 17. So I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate what the 1004 MC looks like from here and the stat report. So I'll click on CMA, and that's where we had the one-line CMA, but then I'm going to see use all results or use selected. So if I've selected specific listings that I want to send, I can just send those, or use all results in this case. Once I come here, the default, it's looking at the full CMA. I want to run the statistical CMA. Statistical CMA, I can take an unlimited number of listings into the statistical CMA. Full CMA, I think you can only have like 150 listings selected. Quick CMA, never use it. I prefer the one-line CMA, it looks much better. And so statistical CMA, it doesn't matter. I could have 1,000 listings, 5,000, whatever it is. That will all go into the statistical CMA. I'm going to click, I've got statistical average field for living area right here. You'll see when I click on next, it's going to say, do I want to remove or keep stats from living area statistics? So I could say remove that, I can keep that. Include total row at the bottom of statistical analysis. Individual listing information, if I wanted to have the listing report for every single listing included, I could check that box. Generally, that's a lot of listings, so I'm not necessarily going to check that. The 1004MC, if you wanted to run that, is just the check box right here. And this is where you would set that effective date back. When you run that report and you want to go back 1 year, you set the one date back from whatever year, defaults to today, but I can change that if necessary. There is a separate box, and I don't really agree that it has to be a separate checkbox, but it is, for the median calculation. I don't know anybody who doesn't include the median calculations. It does take a little bit longer in the calculations when it runs those if you're running 10,000 listings. But at the same time, I don't see why you wouldn't include median information, so make sure you check that. I'm going to group the statistical CMA by status, and when I click this, at the bottom are my actions. I work the page top down, view, print, email. When I click on view, that's going to give me that statistical breakdown up at the top of the page where I see active, pending, closed, overall. It would have all the statuses there normally, but normally you wouldn't select any statuses or off-market dates when you run this. But for time, because it wouldn't load for me, I had to do it. So it gives me that statistical breakdown at the top: average, median, low, high, list price, sold price, sale to list price ratio, living area, and then those Fannie Mae 1004 MC statistics at the bottom. So I've got my absorption rate, prior 7 to 12 months, 4 to 6, current to 3. All of that there available for you. I'm going to come back, leave that. Like I said, I know the trend has been, since that hasn't been a required report for several years, but now they just issued new requirements for the market conditions reports. The trend that I have seen is people just exporting listing data and creating their own reports. AI is wonderful for manipulating that. The default system way to export the listing data is going to be to click on those 3 dots in the upper right corner, and there's my export function. When I click on export, it is going to ask me, do I want to export all the data, or if I have selected, it'll say just the selected listings. And then generic text export, that's going to be in a CSV file, and that includes all the listing information. So all of the details on the listing, public remarks, private remarks, that's all included. Generally, that creates a very huge CSV file because all of the listing data is there. So what I like to recommend is create your own custom export that has the fields of information that you are going to be using. So 1, it's faster. 2, it's much easier for you to manipulate because you don't have fields that are not important to you. However, there are really cool things that you can do the more data that you export. Like was mentioned earlier today, finding out, like, is there a correlation between public remarks, fields, words that appear frequently, and days on market, and finding things like that. AI is great for running those types of queries when you plug it in to the correct applications nowadays, but I'm going to create my own custom export from here, so I'm not exporting all of the listing information. I'm going to go back to my search results. Just going to come back from here. Export search results. I showed you where on any search you can export the listings. But in order to limit that information, I'll create the custom export. That's, again, only the fields I need, and then I can use it anytime on any search results screen. To create my custom export, I'm going to go to my menu. You can type in that search bar on the menu and just type in the word export. It is located under preferences. Anytime I'm customizing something for myself, it'll be here under preferences, and I'll just click my exports. Now, I'll put a star next to this. I probably wouldn't normally star that, but just so you know where I'm at in the menu, what I clicked on, if you do forget, I'm just in my exports. I pinned it up there on my favorites. Now, by default, there are no export templates here, so I would just start at the top of the screen, click New. From here, give the export a name, and I could create different exports for residential, land, single families, condos, whatever it is I'm looking for. Custom export, I'm going to call this residential. And then I have a few options on this page. Detail group name should appear in front of the detail name. What this means is for something like dishwasher, refrigerator, in an appliances group, it would give you that group name. It would say appliances, dishwasher, appliances, refrigerator. So it's a lot of extra information. I'm just going to say don't show the group name in front of what is in the actual detail. Property types. This just allows me to say I want to look at the fields. I'm going to be selecting fields from whatever property type I select. So if I'm creating this export to use in residential, I'm going to have full access to bedrooms, bathrooms, full baths, whatever it is. If I'm doing it for land, I have all of those fields available. So I'll select my property type, I click Next. On the left-hand side of my screen, I'm going to see all of the fields that I could potentially add to my template for the export. And here, there's no search bar. I always just tell people do that Control F or Command F if you're a Mac user, and that lets me search. I get my little search bar on my Chrome browser right here. So if I wanted to just type in the word date, dated, not date. If I want to make sure I've got my close dates, I select, I click Add. Listing contract date, add. I can come in here, days on market. You can add multiple at a time. If you use your control key or shift key and you just want to say, I need to have cumulative days on market, listing office, selling office, whatever it is, I can use my control key, command key for Mac users, and make multiple selections and add multiple items over here at once. And so I've got my days on market, cumulative days on market. You can change the order, move up, move down. And listing contract date, we'll move that up. Close date, days on market. If you have something here and you're like, oh, I don't actually need listing office, you can remove that. So it's worthwhile, in my opinion, to get this set up exactly the way you want in the export, in the order that you want. Takes a little bit of time to do that. But once it's done, you click on, just work the page top down, click on Save. And if you want to be a hero to the appraiser community, when you create that, there is the option to give to someone. So if you do that, you can share that with others inside or outside of your office. I clicked on Give to Someone. I can select the office that I'm going to be sharing this with, and let me scroll down a little bit, export to someone in that selected office. So I could go in, find who I want to share that with, and then click Give the template to that person or those people if I'm selecting multiple people. So if you've done that, you've gone through the process of setting that up, and you would like to share that with others, or somebody's asking you to share it with them, or you're like me, I let somebody else do the hard work, and then I say, could you share that with me? Then you can share those custom templates that you've made with that person. When you do create a custom template for your export, I'm going to just go back to my search results screen. Actually, let's just run that quick comp search again. When I do give that to somebody, then when I go to my exports or they go to their exports after I've shared it with them, I can click on those 3 details, go to export, and now on my export screen, I can say, let's use that custom text export. And if you have multiple, like I said, for different property types or subtypes, you could select from the list. But now when I export, it's going to be just those. I only have like 4 columns right now, but it's just those columns of information. You'll also notice when you do run that export, I'm going to click on that. It pops up. It's in my downloads here, so those are the listings. MLS number, the listing number, will always be included in an export. You don't have to tell the export to include that. That will always be included. One other thing, though, that you notice on this screen as I ran the export, it does give me the option if you wanted to download photos for any of those exported listings, you have that option here as well. Now I'm going to just go back to my search results. Remember I said anytime you're taking actions with the listings from that search results screen, don't click on the back arrow on your browser. Anytime I take actions like exporting listings, saving the search, emailing listings, there's always going to be, after I finish that action, the option to return to my search results. So make sure that you do that. You can always get back if I accidentally click the back browser button. I can get back there by typing in the word draft here to my previous search, but just to save yourself that workflow, just look on screen to get back to my search that I wanted to run. So that is the custom export. Like I said, I know a lot of people have been running market conditions reports. I've seen so many different examples that people have created using their own spreadsheets and then AI to turn that into nice reports. And it gets way beyond anything that I have the capability to understand when they're running statistical regressions. But very easy and very useful tool. And like Matt said, they will be offering Sidekick, which is going to be a tool, and that is an extra paid option, I believe, that'll be available. But that is going to be, I think, a great tool for appraisers to be able to get that data that you're using as an export and plugging that into a database and actually running your own reports with that. So that's also something that is going to be coming for you as members of Doorify MLS. Again, I think that's a paid option, but very cool option. I get excited when I come here because of all the MLSs I train at, and I train all across the United States. Doorify gives their members so many options to so many things. It is like that premier concierge service that they provide you. I'm always just amazed. So there's nothing I can say, well, other MLSs do this. Doorify is already doing it. So it's very cool. I just get excited about all the things that they offer for you. From here, let's go in. I'm going to talk about a few customizations that we can make. And the first one I'm going to talk about, we looked at, I showed you on the detail page, when you see a listing, you could say find quick comparables, and it searches for nearby listings, same property type, same number of beds, same number of total baths. You can change that because it's looking for a 0.25 mile radius. If you like using that quick comparable search just to start a search from an address, you can change the defaults. So in my menu, I'm going to go to my general preferences. It's under preferences, general preferences. I'll pin it up here on my favorites just so you remember where I'm at. Normally I would not pin general preferences to my favorites. I prefer to set it and then forget it. You're done with that. But on my general preferences page, let me zoom in, I see different preference categories, comparables to the far right, and here's where I set the preferences. So I can say whenever I do a quick comparable search, I clicked on my preferences and then to the far right, comparables. Search radius default is 0.25. I'm going to change that to 1. Price adjustment, bedrooms adjustment. This would say if I'm looking at a listing that's been on the MLS previously and it has 4 bedrooms, maybe I'm fine with going 1 bedroom on either side for the initial search. I can always change that and narrow it down. But if it has 3 bedrooms, I could look for 2 to 4 bedrooms. So I'm just going to say bedrooms can be 1 less or 1 more. Or maybe I want none less, but up to 1 more. I could just say 1 more. Bathrooms, that's the total bathrooms. So if I say, yeah, let's go ahead, give us a little bit of leeway in that, maybe 1 less or 1 more. Again, we can always refine this. It's just a way to start a search, but you can always edit that. Square footage, I might say, well, let's always look at, if I'm looking up a listing, I'm just looking at square footage, maybe 10 or 15% on either side of that, just so we have something similar. And then at the very bottom, listing statuses. What am I looking for when I run my quick comparables? If I only want to see sold listings, I'll just make sure that closed is the only one that's checked. If I often find it useful to see actives, what's currently on market and pending, or even coming soon, or active under contract, I can include whichever status I'd like by default. Again, this is just the default starting position for it. I'll click on save. You can always customize that search, but now when I click on 198 Blair Grove and I click to run that comparable search, it's going to give me very different search results. It's going to be a lot more than those 17 listings because now we're drawing that 1 mile radius by default. Active, coming soon, pending, active under contract, and closed are selected. As I come down, I see living area. It looked at 198 Blair Grove Court, took that living area and went 15% on either side. So I've got a range in living area, total baths between 2 and 4, total beds between 4 and 5. So now I've got 35 results. And again, this is where I started here, but I might say, well, total baths, let's go, we can change that. So even though that's the starting position for everything in my selected search criteria, you can always modify that. Or one thing that's not selectable is property subtype when I'm looking for those quick comparables. I know they're residential, but what if there were some condos thrown in here or something like that? You can always just say, let's refine that search, make sure I'm only bringing in the listing subtypes that I want. So that is the quick comparable search, and where you can change the general preferences for what your defaults are for the quick comparable search. Now I'm going to get into a few additional customizations. And the first one I'm going to start with was when we started our very first quick search example, I showed you how you can come in and you can add fields to the search template on the fly. But maybe I am always looking at lot size and using that as part of my search criteria. I'm going to click lot size, acres, square footage, lot size dimensions, just so I have all 3 of those there. And whenever I do a search, I don't want to have to take the extra step to click add a field, go to lot size, and 3 clicks to add those in here. I just want to start the search and have that available for me at the beginning of my search process. So you'll notice I added those to my template right now. I'm not even going to fill anything out. All I'm going to do right now is up at the very top of my screen, I'm going to go to my save action and click that right down here. Not saving the search, but just saving the quick search template. So what that does is allows me to say, let's name this search template. I'm going to put a 0 in front of it because I like it at the top of my lists and it sorts numerically, then alphabetically. And we'll call this our residential search template. There is the option to select the default view, those columns of information. We'll come back to that. And I'm going to click on Save. So now I've got a search template, my residential search template. And whenever I use that, again, I've got my lot size. Now everything is there, ready for me to use. The additional kind of information for you on how this works is if I run one search from that template, the next time I start a search, it's going to start me back on that most recently used search template. So I don't even have to take the extra step to come in and select the template. If I used it once, the next time I start a search, it starts me on that most recently used search template. So it's just already there for me. I've got my lot size information here as well. I'm ready to start my search. Now again, I'm not really particular about a lot of things, but when I see fields, I like things in the order that I like them. And lot size, this doesn't make sense to me down here. The question that usually comes up is, hey, can I put that up maybe right under main level bedrooms? Yes, no, before year built. I want to put it where I want to put it in my search template, just so I feel comfortable with my workflow. So I can't drag and drop things from this screen, but to get in and get to a little bit more granular level on editing the search templates that I've made, I can go to my menu and I'm going to go down. Again, you'll find it under Preferences. I'm going to take a couple of my favorites off right now. And I am going to go to Preferences, Quick Search Templates. I'll pin that to my favorites so you just see where we're at. So I'm in my menu, click on Quick Search Templates, and I am going to see any custom ones that I've created. Here's the one that we just created. You will always see the ones that are marked as inherited. There is no option to remove those. If I try to remove that, it won't actually let me remove that, because then people could accidentally remove any search template and they go to a search screen and they don't have anything to search on. So those inherited ones will always be there. But I can come in, if I added my custom one, I said I was just doing that for fun, I don't need it, you can remove that. I'm going to go out to this one right now. I'll just select that. At the very bottom of the screen, click on Edit. And now here's the name of it, property types. So I could have started from this position or this process as well. My view, the columns of information we see. I click Next. And on the next screen, here's all of my fields that I could potentially add to the search template on the left. And on the right, we have our template there and the actual layout. So as I look at this, I said I wanted to put my lot size maybe right after year built. So I'm going to select all three of those, just hold down my Control key, and then I can move all of those, up. And I'll put them right above year built. So now I've got that where I want that. I can also add, maybe I like to search on things like days on market or listing member companies or anything that I search on frequently, I can add. There's no search bar right here. Again, you can Control F with your browser. And maybe I want to add, right now I think total bathrooms is on the search template, but I want to add total full baths to my search template. You can add whatever you like. I'm going to add half baths as well. And so we'll just add those, maybe move those up. I'm going to move everything else down. Let's do this. Bathrooms. I'm going to select bedrooms. Select all of those, just move those down. There we go. So now total baths, full baths, half baths. And when I've set my template in the order that I want with the fields that I want, I can click on Save. So now I can rest easy when I go to a search. The search order for the fields makes more sense to me. Whatever I wanted it at, it's set at. The other thing you can do from here, just like the export, if you want to share this with somebody or somebody's created a template and you say, hey, could you just share that with me? They can come to this quick search template page, select the template that you want shared, and click Give to Somebody, find the office, select the people in the office. And then when you share it with them, I'm just going to click on Quick Search. When I share it with them, I have access to that. When they go to their search, they'll be able to select it as well. When you do share something with somebody outside, or that's not you, not your user account, they now own that version that you shared with them. So if I make a change in the future, it doesn't inherit out to them. They would have to make that update manually, or I'd have to reshare that or something like that. Or if they make a change, it doesn't affect what I've done. So once you share it with them, they own that copy. So now I've got my search template. I've got my bathrooms. I've got my lot size, acres information. I'm ready to start any search that I want. So I'm going to come back down and just wanted to make sure that we don't have too many listings to load. There we go, 191 listings. I'm going to come back over here. The other customization that I had mentioned and said we would get to here is the columns of information that I see. So that's called the view. And I mentioned each search template, there's a default search template for every property type, and every search template has a default view. And those are just the columns of information that are available. If I want to modify and create my own views, and I can also, when I create my own views, create my own sorts, and I can have layers to my sort. So if I wanted to sort by property type, and then subtype within the property type, and then price or whatever it is, I can make my layers to my sorts default as well. So when I'm on the list tab, I can just, right next to the current view that I'm using, those columns of information, is the word view, and that is clickable. You'll see it, my mouse pop up with the hand as I hover over that. I click on it, and this lets me now create my own view. You'll always have those default views available, so you can't accidentally look at listings and erase a view and see no information on the list. So those defaults will always be there. So it's going to say, let's modify and create a new one based off of that current residential view. So here I'm just going to give it a name. And again, I like putting a 0 in front so it's at the top of the list. There are 3 tabs here that I'll work through: the general, the actual fields, the columns of information, the order that we want, and then the sort, the default sorting that I want associated with this view for search results. On the general tab, I name it, I give it, I can leave this blank. The report description only displays when I go to print listings and I say print the list, that list view, this report description is what will be at the top of the page. So if I'm like, I don't need anything at the top of the page, I don't need to put that report description in. Show the photo by default. Do I want the photo available? You can always toggle to the one-line view, or when I view this, maybe I say no photo available. It's always going to be just that one-line view. There is the default for my listings or my office listings or an address or MLS number search. That's not the default for when I'm using my quick search template. So I could say for the address search, let's set that as the default, but I'm going to show you a slightly different process to actually make that the default for my search template that we made. So once I've named it, I say, is it the default? Do I want to show the photo? Then I just jump over to the Fields tab. And on the left, fields that are available to add. On the right, since I'm basing this off of the current residential view, this is what's currently out here. So as I'm looking at this, we have days on market, but maybe I want days on market earlier in my list. So I'm going to put in right here. I'm going to take the short address off. Status, MLS number, days on market. Property type. So if I want to sort by property type, maybe I want property subtype as well. So over on the left, there is a search bar finally. Property subtype. When I click to add something from the left and it adds over to the right, it just goes to the bottom. So if I want to drag and drop, I can bring that up. If I don't want that on here, I can always click the X and remove that from here. Also, as I'm looking at a column like days on market, it's a pretty wide column header for something that's usually at most 3 digits long, maybe 4 for some listings. But you can click just to make it more readable and change the label on that. So I can say days on market. And then I think we already have, well, maybe we don't. Let me look. finished area, above grade. I'm going to put bedrooms, baths information on here. So I'm going to say total bedrooms, add that in, and then we'll do total baths, full baths, half baths as well. Again, those are pretty long labels for something that is maybe 2 digits. So I can just say, instead of bedrooms total, beds. And for bathrooms total, baths, and then maybe full baths, I'll just do FB. And half baths, HB. So I can get this set, columns of information that I want in the order that I want them. And before I finish and click on save, there is that last tab after fields where my mouse is hovering, the sort tab. And if I am always looking at search results and I say, well, oftentimes I'm pulling in different property types in a search. I want it to sort by property type and then price within property type or days on market within property type. I can say, let's create a custom sort. I'll click create a new sort, and I'm going to call this sort property type and then days on market within the property type. And now I select what property types am I looking at here, because this determines the fields that are available to sort on. And I'm just going to say property type. We'll sort by property type first, and then I want days on market. We'll sort by that within each property type. And maybe if days on market are equal, I'm going to sort by price. And I'm actually going to sort by current price. Current price just means if it's an active on-market listing, whatever that current price is. If it's an off-market listing, whatever that closed price was. And then, of course, for that sort, I can say I want that ascending order, descending order for any of those. So I can make that selection here as well. So when I'm using this custom view that we're about to save and create, this custom sort that I applied will also be automatically applied. So I'll click on save. And now I see my custom residential view. We're looking at it. It's in this list. How this works for you to set this as your default. It's going to work. It won't actually work on my screen because I am in a training account, so I'm not logged in directly. But for you, how it will work is all you need to do is run a search with your custom search template or any of the search templates. And I don't even need to put in search criteria. All I need to do is select a search template, go to my list one time, and say, while I'm using that search template, I'm just going to click and view, select that. Now, the next time I use this search template, that is the view. It just sticks with the most recently used search template. The most recently used view with that template is the default. So I don't have to take extra clicks. I just do that one time. Next time I run a search on whatever search template I use this with, it's going to be applied again. So I've got my status, address, price, days on market, sorted by property type, subtype, and then those other columns of information that we had here. But this allows me, I think we had discussed this, or somebody had mentioned it earlier in class, if I want to search for multiple property types here or subtypes, I didn't put my subtype on here, but I'm going to say all property types. And I can select whatever we're looking for, residential, res income, land. Maybe I don't use commercial in this, so I'm going to just take that off. Since we're in Burlington right now, just add that in here. And we're going to look at closed within the past 30 days. So I've got 79 listings. When I go to my list tab, I haven't used that view yet with this all property types search. So I would have to come in, select that one time, and then that next time I do an all property search, you'll see it's sorting by property type right now. As I scroll down, now it's sorting by land. After that, it's sorting by days on market. Within days on market, after that, it's sorting on the current price. So I've got those columns of information set. So that can be a really useful customization to make sure that when you're searching and you're looking at those results, just saving yourself time, get it set up once. And then in the future, when I'm looking at search results, I see the information that's useful for me to do my job. I see it in the order that I want, with the custom sorts that I want. And again, to create that custom search template, the custom view, under guided help, don't forget there's tons of tutorials on this. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to refer back to it if you really love watching me and my voice. So there's no camera on me, is there? Otherwise, you could make a drinking game about how many times I raise my hand in a given second. I give a lot of webinars, and I am just doing this constantly in a webinar, so I never show my camera in a webinar because that really would become a drinking game for people, and I don't want anybody to become an alcoholic because of me. So those are my custom views, my custom search templates, sorts. Since we do have time, I'm going to go into just a few other customizations that you can make. We looked already at the dashboard, and I showed how you can drag and drop and move things around. If you're looking at this and like, well, I just want a kind of a stats dashboard. When I log in, I want to see stats for different locations or market activity from different locations. For the dashboards, I can click on Customize in the upper right corner, and I can add gadgets to my current dashboard, but I can even create my own custom dashboards. So I clicked on Customize while on my dashboard, click Add Dashboard, and this is going to say, all right, here are some default dashboards. Do you want to use one of those? I'm just going to click on blank. I'm going to say, let's call this my market stats example, and I'll create a dashboard. When I do that, it's going to say, all right, you've got your dashboard, you're about to create. What gadgets do you want on here? So if I'm looking to keep track of just like daily market activity, I want to know what's going on in the market right now. I'm going to go to daily. There are hot sheets. Maybe I want to keep track of multiple locations. I can add multiples of any gadget, and we'll customize each one and point it at a different location. So maybe I'm just going to add 3 hot sheets. Stat gadgets, you can always play around with this. Maybe I want inventory, but I'm going to be looking at inventory in 3 different locations. So absorption rate or sale to list price ratio, whatever you want. I'm just going to add 3 of every one of these, or a couple of these right now. And if I already have one, it lets me know. But now when I go back to my new custom dashboard, I'm just going to go up to the top, click Return to Dashboard, and I've got this new market stats example. It just starts loading all of those gadgets into a big column. Go to Customize in the upper right. I can change the layout here, and this gives me dual columns. I put in 3, so I'm just going to put in 3 columns. So now I can start looking at this and saying, I'm going to just have some, market stats that display. So whenever I log in, I have just a quick snapshot of things that I am interested in. There we go. So I've arranged that. Now right now these are all essentially duplicate gadgets. They're looking at the entire MLS. But if I say for market activity, hot sheets, I can point this and go to my settings and point this wherever I want. Cities, counties, zip codes. Now with this, I can make as many selections right here as I would like. So I could put multiple counties or cities or postal codes into any one of these gadgets. So maybe I want Durham, Alamance. So I could put multiple in here, or I could break that out. Maybe I'll have Alamance here, property types. By default, it's looking at all property types. If I don't want commercial listed in here, for example, as I'm looking at market activity, I can make my selections and just select everything other than commercial. I'll click on save. And now this one is just looking in the county of Alamance, new listings in the property, or those property types that were selected in the past 24 hours. And then I can do the same thing here, and I could go to this hot sheet and say, let's point this at Durham. I'm not going to go in and select all my property types, but again, you can do that. And for this one, maybe I'm looking at, we were in Johnston County yesterday, so let's go county here. So now I've got market activity that I'm going to be able to see. You'll see that it's showing 321 on those. I'm just going to click refresh so those all get applied correctly right here. And so now I just see market activity in 3 different counties at a nice single glance. I can do the same thing here under my gadgets, my inventory gadgets. It's looking at the entire MLS, but I can go to the settings, select. Now, one thing that's a little bit different with these stat gadgets, they can only select one location at once, and they will only show property type for one property type at a time. So I'm just going to come in, make my selections there. So right now, this one, whoops, forgot to add that. Alamance County, there we go. And now I'll click on save. So I can have my inventory here. It's looking at Alamance County. I could go into my settings here, set this one at Durham, set this one at Johnston, or whatever locations I'm interested in. So you can have, again, customize this, get it set up the exact way that you want it. All of these stat gadgets that I'm using, the inventory gadget, the absorption rate gadget, these are actually available in kind of a single report page in Flexmls as well, but it doesn't allow you to quickly see the differences if I'm looking at different locations. But if I go to my menu, there are a few statistical options here. So under My Production, Market Summary is the one I'm going to click on first. I'll just put a star on that so we know where I'm at. The Market Summary report is going to allow me to come in, and it gives me, by default, it's looking at the last completed month, and it's looking at the entire MLS, and it tells me right now we're looking at residential. And so I see number of listings, listing prices. If I just am interested in seeing sale price trends, I can X any of those out, or I want the new median list price, active median list price, sold median list. So as I'm looking at this, if you're like, well, how are you calculating absorption rate? I want to make sure that I know that. This page with our market summary graphs allows me to come in and click that little question mark next to any of these, and it will tell me it's taking active listings. The active listings are counted by a snapshot on the 15th of the month, dividing those by the n number of months here for the previous 12 months. And so I've got that. Summary statistics, it's going to show me July of 25 compared to last year, year-to-date comparisons as well, this year to last year. Quick breakdown, active, sold, pending. And as I'm looking at this, it's giving me this price range breakdown here as well. So if I'm looking and saying, well, for our sold listings, I've got in that range of 250 to 299, 566 sold this year compared to 2024, 550. So I've got all of that data available here. Like I said, this is defaulted for the entire MLS. So it's looking at all locations right now. If you want to narrow it down, click on Customize in the upper right corner, select New Location, and here, maybe I'm just going to select Alamance County. I can set my report date So I can go up to the last completed month. So we're in August. We're not finished with August yet, so I can run it through July. If I want to see it for land instead of residential, I could run it for a different property type as well. And then I just click search, and it's going to apply those filters. So now it will tell me Alamance residential. So looking at residential listings, Alamance County. And so these are the same search gadgets that were available on our dashboard, but just everything in one place. The limitation here, though, is I can only see one location at a time. So if I wanted to come in and look at Durham County, I'll click on New Location and select Durham County, and then run that again. And then, so I can always come up and then say previous locations and toggle back and forth between any of those that I've done previously. I can also hover over those, pin them. I'm just clicking on this little star. You might not be able to see it. I'm not sure if it's washed out behind me. But when I mark them as favorites, when I go to customize, I can just go to my favorite locations and then run that search so I can quickly toggle between them. But I like setting up the dashboard. If it's something that I like to see at a quick comparison, saves me time. The nice thing about this, though, is from here, I do have the option. I can export this to then use in my own spreadsheets. I could also just share this with somebody. I can email it out to them. I could print it from here. So if I just like the information, I want to share it via email. If I have contacts, I could add a contact. If I'm not adding contacts, I'm not keeping track of my contacts in Flexmls, under that to line, I can just type in who I am going to email that out to. So you can just type in email addresses. You don't need to add somebody as a contact. And then when they get that, they get it. Same report that I'm seeing on my screen. They would only see what I've selected. The recipient would not have the ability to go in and customize that and look at the other MLS data. So they only see, in this case, Durham residential listings if I were to share that with them. So this is a really useful and good report. My personal, I won't say it's a gripe because I love Flexmls, but I feel it's a limitation, is this is looking at residential listings, but it's looking at all of those subtypes within residential. So I'm seeing single family, I'm seeing condos. I'm not able to filter out at that granular level. And so the other stat report that I really like using that are very easy to use in Flexmls, there are a lot of them that aren't as intuitive, but it is going to be, we were just on our market summary. I am going to go to my market trends graphs. So when I click on that, I see here are my market trends graphs. This gives me a variety of ways to look at whatever I'm looking at right now. Number of listings, and I can set the date range right underneath. Right now I'm looking at a 2-year range, August of 2023 through July of 2025. And number of listings, right now it's showing me the number of sold listings. You can just quickly toggle and say number of active listings, number of new listings during that time as well. So, or I want to look at price trends. I can see, right now I'm just looking at sold median list price and sold median sale price. So I'm seeing where those line up, but I could say what's the average active list price during that time range. So I've got different ways that I can customize each of those. That range at the bottom that I can set, maybe I just want to see the trends for the past year, not the past 2 years. Sale to list price ratio, days on market. Again, if I hover over any of those, it kind of tells me how that data is being calculated. Days on market, inventory, volume. I have all of that information available. But what I really like about this, one, I can set it not for just 1 year, but multiple years. 2, gives me a variety of ways to look at this. But 3, the most important, is I have a filter option at the top. And this filter option gives me, I'm going to use my custom residential search template. It allows me then to come in. Now, because I'm looking at stats, again, I'm not going to select a status. I'm going to let the stat report look at the statuses during that time frame. But if I wanted to come in and say, only show me single family residences, I have that ability. So now my stats are probably a little bit more accurate for what I want to see, because I really only want to see single family, or maybe I only want to see townhouses, whatever it is. Again, I can sort by or search by location or locations. I've got subdivisions, I've got cities, counties. We'll do Governor's Club because I liked all of the the properties I drove by yesterday. They look nice. Again, set my locations. If I was looking for specific size, living area, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, whatever it is, I can filter my search down, but I'm just going to click on next. I'm just saying within that location for Governor's Club subdivision, now I see months inventory. I'm looking in a really small area right now, so I will see gaps sometimes in information if there were no sales or something during that particular month. So I've got this out here, and again, we can customize that. Maybe I'm just looking at, maybe I want new listings and sold listings. So I can see what that looks like right here. Also, really nice thing about this is that I've got my data table underneath. So it shows me for each month. I can always hover over any of these spots and see, oh, in May of 25, there were 16 new listings that were put on market. I can hover over that, but you have the actual data table underneath, so I can see all of that information without having to hover over or anything like that. So very easy to run this report, getting sales trends. I can also just export this data as well. So if I want to take that and take these tables at the bottom, present them differently, I can always export that as well. Export the data displayed on the page, or export all downloadable data. Just going to click on that, and there I've got my export right here. So I can then manipulate that whatever way I want to in my own applications. You can also, just like our market summary report, you could print this off. I could share this via email. If I share it with somebody via email, they see the same interactive graphs. Again, the recipient does not have the ability to filter and change the filter options. They just see what I've already searched for and the options I've already checked and made available for them for that. But it is very nice and very shareable with people from here as well. So I've got that email option. And again, when I email that, I can send it to a contact, or if you're not using contact management and adding contacts in Flexmls, just type in the email address that you want to send that to, and I've got that available here. If you do send this off to somebody, you can do it from the email address. I'm just going to email that to somebody, and stats, hi Megan. If I email that, I'll send the page. When Megan gets that, she can reply to me. It's coming from Flexmls, so it'll say from Josh Hernandez via Flexmls. When Megan replies, it goes to my primary email address. I also get a copy in my messages in Flexmls. And I can also see, if I want to say, did I send that to Megan or not? Under my menu, I can go to, not messages, email. I can see my sent emails, and I'm going to see, oh, I just manually emailed that to Megan right here. What was the content? What did I send her? And it's just going to show me that's what I just shared with Megan. So Megan can't change the filter, but it tells her what I filtered for. And then she has, again, all of that access to the same information that I have. She just can't filter herself or anything like that. She only sees what I share with her. So if you do share listings, somebody's like, could you resend that? I can always just click on resend over here as well. So I don't need to go in and rebuild that again and send it off again. I can always just click on resend. Now, like I said, I didn't think we would go for a full 2 hours, but I tend to talk a lot. We do have a few minutes left though. Are there questions that you have from Flexmls on things I've demonstrated or maybe things that weren't demonstrated?
I think it's great. It's a huge time saver because I export everything CSV now and make my own stuff in Excel, but this does a lot of it for me without having to take that step.
All right, I will also point out, I won't get into all of these today. There are, as you see, additional stat report options. So I can always go in, I'm always in inventory and production, like summary statistics. These don't have the nice graphs and things associated with them, but they are really easy ways to run some stat reports, including property types. Again, I'm looking at stats, so I'm not necessarily selecting a time frame, but maybe I just want to look in the city of Raleigh. You can go in and play with a lot of these stat reports. I just showed you some of the highlights that I enjoy seeing. I'm going to look at MLS statistics, set my begin date, end date. It's past month. We'll just see what that looks like. So summary statistics, a nice, quick, easy report to run here for, I'm looking at the entire MLS. But I can see what I've searched for, in what time frame, and then see total number of listings sold during that time frame. Selling and listing side were the same. Co-brokers, 627 had co-brokers. New listings, pending listings, withdrawn listings. So you do have additional options for stat reports that are available. I always am in playing with the inventory and production ones. So just to point out, there are some additional options here
I
too.
could walk up for a while. Did you do my exports?
We did. We did. Yes, we definitely covered my exports and I also covered creating a custom export, so you don't necessarily need to export all the listing data, but just the data that is pertinent to what you're using. All right. Well, thank you all very much for attending and have a great rest of your day, and hopefully you get in and try Flexmls out.
Thank you.
Thank you.